Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Open Book. I am Billy Price, co-founder of BILLY Footwear. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Miss April Davenport, who specializes in design. Hello, April.
Hi, everybody.
So, April, there's a lot of things we can talk about. I know that your past is, you're a graduate from Oregon State University, where you studied design. You also came in contact with the Runway of Dreams. And I think a great starting point is just, how did you get into design?
Yeah, totally. So I actually started in design pretty young age. I knew for a long time, since I was 10, 11, that this is what I wanted to do. I loved art, and I see design as a practical way for us to incorporate art and into our everyday lives and get to wear it and express ourselves through it. And that's really what attracted me to the design. So I followed it through all the way up until I graduated earlier this year. And I'm just so excited to be part of the industry and helping people express themselves in new and unique ways through their apparel and footwear.
Yeah, and I know there's so many aspects to design and so many different trends and stuff. And is there something in particular within the design realm that's really caught your eye?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that's going on right now. Obviously, the pandemic is really shifting things. So it's been both challenging and exciting to see how our minds have been changed towards design in our clothing. But there's a lot of cool things that are coming up. I think a lot of trends are resurfacing that are going to be coming back up in the next year or two. And I'm so excited to see, say, for instance, certain fabrics and styles from the 70s are coming back, which is really fun to watch. But another trend that I've obviously been really passionate about the last couple of years is inclusive design, specifically in the field of adaptive. And I feel like BILLY Footwear is really doing that right now, so it's exciting to watch.
Yeah. Well, I know that on the adaptive side, or excuse me, on the design side, I know you were very active in college with a particular project. I mean, can you talk about that project you worked on?
Yeah, totally. So I guess a little background on me. Right around the same time that I got into design as a student or as a child, I experienced an injury that caused me to develop a chronic pain condition in both my legs eventually. And so early on in my kind of career and excitement with the industry, I also found this disconnect where, on one hand, I love fashion and I want to be a part of the industry, where on the other side, here I am with a disability, I don't see representation. So I really felt locked out of the industry that I wanted to be so bad a part of. And I kind of had that struggle up until I hit college, and I started my sophomore year at OSU, Oregon State University, and I discovered adaptive apparel and the Runway of Dreams Foundation, which, if you haven't looked it up, I really recommend. They're doing great things to advocate for people with disabilities in the fashion industry. And so I became eventually pretty heavily involved in Runway of Dreams and doing some outreach with them on the campus of OSU. And one thing that Runway of Dreams does is do a scholarship design contest for students. And I entered theirs in my junior year, so 2 years back. And the project was something that I was really passionate about, is because we were designing a prom look that was inclusive and adaptive for people with certain disabilities or varying abilities, right? And as a high school student, my disability was something that I really struggled with. And I knew that if I had other options for prom, I might have even looked into it. So getting to make an influence on another high school's dream of going to prom was something that I really got excited about. And so I entered that contest that year as a junior, and eventually I actually ended up winning it. Which was really groundbreaking for me, not only in a career fashion, but also personally, because it felt like I was finally making a difference in the industry and finally seeing a breakthrough for people with varying disabilities. So for my actual design, I designed a dress that followed a lot of different trends that were happening during the time. So I really looked at junior styles, whether it be the two-piece prom dress, big floral prints, and I wanted to incorporate all of these into a cute adaptive look that students could wear and feel proud of themselves, but also feel comfortable in at prom. And so I also designed some accessories for crutches, since I'm also a crutch user. I wanted to give a way for students to dress up their crutches instead of have them be something that they're ashamed of, be something that they enjoy wearing as an accessory and be proud of. And that's what I took to New York Fashion Week just a little over a year ago as a winning entry.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So there's so many different things there that we can unpack, and I'm trying to think which way to go first, because I know that through Runway of Dreams, that's when our paths first crossed.
Yeah.
Before we go there, I did want to talk about that crutch. Well, you started your own business, Crutching It.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, I have a special place in my heart for entrepreneurs. So what was it like being a business owner? Or I guess you still are a business owner. What is that like?
Yeah, it's been really incredible. I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur in the slightest. But coming out of that contest a little less than 2 years ago, I realized that, hey, these crutch accessories I thought were super cool. Maybe other people would too, since here I am getting to take it to the next step of the competition. So eventually, a couple months later, I launched my business called Crutching It, because we're crushing the stereotypes of people with disabilities. And yeah, we launched online selling crutch and cane accessories that help people feel confident using their mobility aids. And that was awesome. It was definitely really challenging, and it is definitely really challenging. And I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't something I was extremely passionate about. Because if I had something like that on the market when I was younger and using crutches even more regularly than I am now, I think it would have really made a big difference in my life. And that was the whole mission of it. It was, and it has never been about profits or money. It's just about bringing independence and confidence to people that may rely on mobility aids throughout their daily life.
Right. Right. You know, when I think about disabilities, you know, looking at myself in the mirror, you know, I'm a wheelchair user. It's very easy to see that there's something going on. You know, it's my disability is very visible. I mean, if you look at my hands, I don't have full hand dexterity. I push a manual wheelchair. I drive a van that has a lift in it. I have to transfer the driver's seat and go around. You know, if I'm to get on the bus, or some sort of lift that I have to go on. I mean, it's very obvious that I have a disability. Now, when it comes to situations where, but that's not always the case. I mean, there's situations where disabilities are hidden. So, and I guess you'd probably fall in that category. And I just kind of like, what is that like? I mean, I don't know if you can put that into words, but what is it like? Well, I don't know. Let me just give you the mic. What is it like having hidden disability? I guess I'll pose it that way.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I developed my disability around when I was in middle school. So I was about 12 years old. And it is, for the most part, an invisible illness. I use crutches and canes part-time and occasionally other mobility aids. But for the rest of the time, it's invisible, which brings different challenges than somebody who has a visible illness. Neither is harder or easier, they're just different, right? I think the hardest part for me is figuring out how to tell people without them seeing me differently. And and being able to express what's going on, even though they can't visually see it.
Right.
I think that's something that I really struggled with when I was younger, especially, is kind of feeling like I didn't want to tell anybody, but at the same time, I was really hiding something from people around me if I didn't open up about it. And having the freedom to tell people or not tell people is sometimes a gift, but sometimes a curse, because I got myself in situations where I really felt like the people around me didn't actually know what I was going through, because I was really struggling. And so tying it back to what we were talking about earlier with, you know, adaptive design, I think that's what was so groundbreaking for me as somebody with an invisible illness, was just the level of exposure people like me have begun to get in the last couple of years in the industry. People starting those conversations that, you know, I don't feel quite like swept under the rug anymore like I used to, just because there's more of an understanding and an acknowledgement that we exist. And to see that has really been life-changing for me.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. Yeah, I think about, there'd be a lot of people listening to our conversation right now, certainly from the parents' perspective, but also kids too. I mean, just anybody that has any sort of hidden disability or visible disability. It's I mean, I've been a peer mentor. Let me start. So when I first broke my neck, I mean, my world really changed. And after I got discharged from the hospital, there were a lot of therapists that wanted me to actually come back and talk to newly injured patients, that just to kind of remind them that, just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean your life is over. There's a lot that you have. You have a full life ahead of you. I mean, it's just a matter of making the choice to move forward. And it's interesting how sometimes what may be seen as a weakness turns into a strength. I mean, this disability basically became BILLY Footwear, which is just so mind-blowing to think that, how that came together. So I guess I would say is, for families out there that may have a child with a hidden disability, or speaking to the child directly, I mean, do you have any sort of kind of wisdom that you could offer up, just maybe from your past and struggles that you've had that perhaps they don't have to struggle with?
Yeah, definitely. I guess first to parents, I think it's really easy to forget sometimes that it's there when your child or your child doesn't maybe mention that they're in pain constantly. They don't bring it up. They just go about their daily lives. I would encourage you to remember that they're living with something that you maybe can't fully understand, but that is fully there. And I think your child just knowing that you are interested in understanding what your kid is going through, that's going to mean a lot, because a lot of their peers might not take the time to understand what they go through on a daily basis and how their life and their struggles are going to be different than their peers. And as far as the kids out there, well, I could say a lot. I walked with a cane when I was just 12 years old. And so while I wouldn't say I was bullied, I definitely say my peers would make peer appropriate comments that were really hurtful to me. And I don't look back on it and feel bad or mad at them. But at the same time, it was something that made me a little ashamed of how I walked, the mobility devices I used, the extra needs I needed to get up and down stairs, or how I had to sit out during recess or PE. I would just encourage you to really voice as much as possible to your peers how you feel. Don't be ashamed to tell them what you're going through, because it's only going to get worse if you're hiding it, right? I would encourage you to seek out things that you really enjoy to do, that you can do. When I was diagnosed mid-childhood, a lot of things that I enjoyed in the past, I couldn't do anymore. So I was a pretty active kid, and, then all of a sudden I lost a lot of things that I could do. I stopped getting invited to birthday parties or other events because I couldn't go roller skating or I couldn't go hiking. And, I felt pretty alone, and I felt kind of confused of what I can do. So I really fell back on art. I fell back on swimming, and I looked for things that I could do that I really enjoyed. So I'd recommend that. I feel for you though, if you're going through the same thing, or maybe you've had this for your whole life, or maybe it's just started recently, that it's gonna change your life. And just as Billy can testify, and he testified earlier, that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's led me to be able to empathize and connect with people on a different level that I couldn't have previously. And not that I would say that I'd wish this upon anybody at any means, but there is really an opportunity to take what you're given, just like Billy has done, and use it for something great.
Mm. Wow. Well said. Yeah, April, that's awesome. I mean, to be able to turn a struggle into a strength. I mean, that's really the name of the game. And just it doesn't you can't just snap your fingers and magically make that happen. It's a grind, and you got to keep moving forward somehow. But to be able to try to utilize that for a tool to be able to move forward and help others. I mean, that's what it's all about. That adding value aspect. And the
Yeah.
thing is, I mean, so that led you to design, or I mean, you're always kind of had a hankering for design and the arts, like you were saying, but then to be kind of focusing more on the adaptive and inclusive side, that then led you to Runway of Dreams, and that's when our paths crossed. So that was, when was that? That was 2019, September
A little
2000.
over a year ago, yes.
A year ago. And now where do you work?
I am fortunate enough to now be a permanent employee here actually at BILLY Footwear. So I am so glad to be here this summer. I moved up here to the Kent area here in Washington, and I worked here for 3 months starting in June as an intern. Now I am so lucky to be a design and marketing associate here at BILLY Footwear and just really get to help move this dream along.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't be happier to have you aboard and be a part of the team. So I know when it comes to design, there's a lot of fun things that you're working on. Can you share some of the things you're working on?
Yeah, of course. We definitely have a lot coming up in the next year or so. Obviously, I can't tell you guys everything, but just know there's a lot of big things coming that you should be excited about. So make sure to stay in touch. A couple of specific things that are coming up soon that I've been working on is we're getting excited to be launching a wider variety of branded merchandise. So first is headwear. We got some really cool hats coming up soon that will be able to be purchased on our retail website, billyfootwear.com. Additionally, I'm also working on some branded apparel, which I'm really excited to share with you guys. And I'm excited to be moving the branded apparel along, but also in the future, we hope to really expand and hopefully do some more inclusive apparel that's fashion oriented.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's we're on a fun trajectory right now, and it is very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. So, before I sign us off, I mean, you and I can talk forever. We really can. But before I sign us off here, I just want to give you the mic one more time. If there's anything that's more on your heart that you want to share, the mic is yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, first off, Billy, it's just a privilege to work alongside you. Now that I've been here, I couldn't imagine being in a job in the industry that wasn't as driven by passion and just so much warmth and care than here. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. I just want to say that how much inclusive design, and not just at BILLY Footwear, but everywhere, has really changed my life, and in a different way that it has for, say, people that have more of a functional need. It's been seen that representation in the media and in the brands. So I just applaud all of the companies recently who have been pushing along the mission and not just using inclusion as a tagline or a gimmick to get sales, but as a real way to connect with their consumers who have these different needs, and also these needs to see that people like themselves in the magazines and on the TV and on the catwalk, right? So I just applaud these brands like BILLY Footwear who are making the world a more understanding, inclusive, and open place to live. So thank you to BILLY Footwear, and thank you to the industry and the people who are listening to our needs. You guys are rocking my world.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool what's going on right now. I mean, there's a big, big shift in a very positive direction. I mean, our business is in the add value business. I mean, that's what we do. We try to add value everywhere we go and make a measurable difference one foot at a time. And it's been so inspiring to see the traction we've made thus far, and what's coming up. It's going to be even better. So it's just a matter of getting the team out, having more April Davenports on the team to make that happen, and just take it one day at a time. So
I can't wait.
Everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. This is another episode of Open Book. We will have another one next Wednesday. Okay, everyone, take care.
Bye.